At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. We're just rolling through them. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is the man that stole my treasure. I want it back. It's good old Dougie first. Dougie, my man, give it back.
You shouldn't have given it to me in the first place.
I didn't give it to you.
You did. I said, let me see it, and you said, okay.
But I didn't say you could keep it.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. I don't like starting these episodes mad, but when the first episode is the first episode we're covering, it's like, oh.
For real. But yes, everyone, we are back with another record session for you, bringing you the next 3 episodes of Pokemon Horizons. And this week we are going over episodes 28, 29, and 30 of the series. And in the first episode, our heroes are dumb enough to give off a treasure that they are supposed to be keeping close to the chest, bro.
Well, and I don't know who I'm more mad at. I don't know I mean, I get in trouble when I say I don't like Roy because, oh, he's a kid, leave him alone. So I don't know if I'm not allowed to be mad at Roy, if I should be mad at Free because he should have been paying more attention. I mean, he kind of was, but he wasn't really. I was
about to say, he didn't like this guy from the jump when he was trying to sell the kids sleep powder.
But he didn't tell him, this guy's scummy, which I would have said, because this,
Well, he was.
But I guess if Free tells him this guy's scummy and we shouldn't deal with him, the episode's 5 minutes long.
For real. It's time to get into some Pokemon, bro. We got some, yes. I think for the first time in our batching of episodes, we have all filler episodes. Episodes that really
these are some...
They don't progress the storyline at all. At least to me.
Yeah, no. These are some filler-ass episodes.
So yes, we are going over 3 new episodes today, and the episodes we're going over are The Stolen Treasure, Orla and the Pokeball Smith, and Slip and Crash, a mystery Pokemon. Which, honestly, I mean, that as filler as that episode is, I honestly think that had the most out of all the episodes that we were watching today.
Yeah, that was probably the most entertaining, but I mean, it was kind of a low bar, in my opinion.
For real. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get on into these episodes. I'm going to start queuing up my feed right now. And this one, I don't even need the damn subtitles because I can literally just have this episode kind of just play and I'll know exactly what's happening. But the first episode we're going over... Oh, was this episode the same name in Japanese? Yeah, it is. Actually, let's see. This one is... Orla does have a Japanese translation, and you're gonna get a kick out of episode 30 when I say it. I'm gonna leave it to that unless people already know because they were looking at the title of the episode. but you're gonna get a kick out of that. So you ready to jump on in, bro?
Yes.
All right. So our heroes are in a new town, and I mean, I guess we can kind of. I mean, we don't have to go scene by scene for this. We can kind of leave it up to discussion. But the episode starts with our heroes, and they actually don't say what town they're in. Okay?
No, I rewatched it a couple times because I was like, maybe I missed it. No, they don't say it. It's just a random farmer's market.
Yeah, and they're going through and they're trying to get information about the Black Rayquaza. And in this town, Diana, who is Lico's grandmother, told them that they need to find a salesman. And the salesman used to travel with her, and that he might have information in regards to the Black Rayquaza. Or he might be able to take a look at the Pokeball and give them a little bit more knowledge. So they meet up with this salesman, who seems like he's kind of down on his luck a little bit. And you can tell that he's a little bit of a sleazeball. But he immediately sees these kids when they come up to him, and he's like, I have the perfect gift for you.
Excuse me, sir?
A customer? Well, you've got excellent taste, little miss. Feast your eyes. I've got the finest goods around.
Actually, we're just...
Actually, your timing is perfect. I recently came across an item that's incredibly rare. If you have this, you can win any Pokemon battle guaranteed.
Whoa, is that really true?
True Blue, this is highly effective sleep powder. Just a dash of this powder, and in no time, everyone's sleeping like a Snorlax. It's hugely powerful stuff.
Awesome! Yeah, but if you fall asleep with everyone else, you're not really winning, right?
What'd she say?
And I promise you this will fascinate you. It's the rarest of the rare. It's a fossil of a 20,000-year-old Rotom phone.
Whoa, your shop is the coolest!
20,000 years ago, there were no phones.
What else do we have?
Excuse me, sir, but are you Tepin?
Liko is like, you know what? We came here so we can meet you. Is your name Tepin? And he's like, who wants to know? And he's like, and Liko goes, well, you know my grandmother, Diana. You used to travel with her, and we were told to come and find you. And Roy takes out that Pokeball, and he's like, yeah. He's like, we were told that you might know about the Black Rayquaza, and what is the history of this Pokeball? And the guy's eyes immediately brighten up at this point. And I'm going to give this part over to you, because after Roy takes out the Pokeball, the old man grabs
it. So yeah, he has, Rayquaza's ancient Pokeball, and Tepin's like, oh, let me see it real quick. And like I said, and I can't remember if this was in the beginning of the episode or we were just talking off mic, and it's one of those look with your eye situations, but Roy, being ultra trusting, is like, oh, okay, here you go. And, Tepin is kind of he turns his back to, the three of them, and he's fiddling, and, I mean, he ends up, he's like, well, that's interesting. I've never seen anything like, and he hands Roy his backpack back, and Roy's first strike was handing him the Pokeball to begin with, right?
And then taking his eyes off the ball.
So his third strike is not checking his backpack immediately when he gets it back.
Exactly.
So, but Roy's like, oh, gee, thanks. And they turn to leave, and Hitana pokes her head out of Liko's hood and is like, yo, I mean, there's, what the, scummy sleazeball over there. And Liko turns to acknowledge her, and then immediately Fuecoco's like, I'm hungry. He's like, me too. And then the moment's lost, and Hitana kind of is dejected. She said, "Oh shit!" And so, they suggest to go find some place to eat. And as they're having lunch at a nice little cafe, Sprigatito notices that Roy's backpack is moving. And, pardon me, they're like, "Oh, that's odd." And then the top of the bag opens and a fungus pops out. And it's got a top that looks like a Pokeball if you're not really paying attention. Which it was stupid anyway, because that Pokeball is an ancient Pokeball. It's not like your everyday run-of-the-mill Pokeball.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a cursory glance goes, "Oh, there's a Pokeball still in there." No, anyway. And so, Roy does what he should have done before they turned and left the stand. He looks in and goes, "Oh my God, my Pokeball's gone." And his first reaction isn't, "Oh, that scummy guy took it." It's, "Oh, I dropped it." Like, no, you were the victim. Don't blame yourself. And they're like, "Oh, but you gave it to that guy earlier." And they're like, "Oh, that's right." And we cut back to Teppan's stall, and he's packing up because he got what he was tasked to get. And so everybody goes running back to the stall, and it's empty. It's a ghost town.
Yeah. He literally looks at his Pokemon, and he's like, "All right, I got this Pokeball. It is time to leave, and we're going to pack up shop and all of this. And our heroes are back, and once they get there, everything's gone, just like you said." And we get a glimpse of Teppan running away, and he's on the phone with someone. And he's trying to sell this Pokeball to someone that came to him earlier, right, Doug?
Yes. And he's on the phone with somebody, and he's like, "Now I expect my bonus or my tip," or however he says it.
First, Freed and Pikachu meet up with Teppan, and they come across his truck, his little wagon.
Cart.
Yeah.
Cart. Yeah, wagon. Yeah, wagon.
And,
cart, wagon, yeah.
And he's like, "You stole our Pokeball." And Teppan's like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, "All right, well, then let me check your shop." So he looks all through it, and he's like, "Oh, that's so weird." He's like, where's the Pokeball? And Teppan, being a freaking dumbass, I'm going to call him a dumbass because he could have gotten away with it. Because it was at this point that Freed was about to give up and just say, "Well, maybe Roy just dropped the Pokeball." But no, what does Teppan go and do? Teppan's like, "Oh my gosh, they're on to me." And he flips the whole cart on Pikachu and Freed. And that's when Freed takes out his Charizard again to go after this guy. And that's when he wrecks everyone's shop. So, and Teppan just goes running. And that's where Pikachu and Freed split up, because Pikachu is going to continue following Teppan while Liko and Roy are on another hunt. And Liko and Roy are actually in search of a couple of Teppan's Pokemon. His Lampin, his Bronzong, his Bronzor, his Fungus, and his what is that? Honedge?
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't really identified in the it wasn't identified by name, but yeah, I think so.
So they go chasing after these Pokemon who actually have the Pokeball, because the Pokeball is in this sack. And Liko and Roy, they're just chasing, and the Pokemon fly into this museum. And they're like, "Okay, where'd they go?" And they're inside the museum. So all the Pokemon that I mentioned are kind of like ancient artifacts. Is that a good way of saying it, Doug?
Yeah, that's how I would say it. I mean, it's kind of like way back the episode where we learned about like Kabutos and Zapdos and Moltres and Articuno and there's another one that I can't remember. Oh, Amistar?
Amistar, yes.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like that episode.
Oh, I mean, Ammonite.
Ammonite.
Yes. So
I knew it was close.
So they go in here and they're looking for the Pokemon, and they come across a whole bunch of lamps, and they're taking a look, and they're like, "Oh, I don't see Lampent," and they're just walking around, and then all of a sudden we come across the Pokemon because the Pokemon weren't smart enough to just like separate. They were all together, pretending to be a statue on the upstairs of this museum. And all the Pokemon are like, oh no, we've been caught. And they just start running. And this is when Sprigatito and Fuecoco start chasing after it. And all these Pokemon that they're chasing just jumps out a window. And Liko and Roy is like, crap! So they run out and they catch up to the Pokemon, and the Pokemon go around the corner, and then you see Pikachu run away as well. And then we're back with Freed. Freed helped all these villagers and salesmen put their shops back up, and they were like, "Oh, thank you for helping us, Freed. You didn't really have to do it, but you did it, and we appreciate it, and we understand that what you did was an accident. So you know what? No harm, no foul." And if that was the case, I mean, they could have put their stuff back up themselves.
Well, yes. I mean, but I mean, are we going to pick at nits so far in the episode?
But after this, Doug, we meet up with all the Pokemon that Liko and Roy are following over in a field of grass. You want to start on this part?
Yeah, so we kind of have like a little bit of an impromptu battle. We got Sprigatito's using leafage.
A lot of leafage because, Sprigatito knows maybe 3 attacks. Yes.
Hitana is using Psychic. And Fuecoco is using Ember, but it's not really effective because Fuecoco is specifically focused on Lampent, and Lampent is a ghost type, yes, and fire has no effect.
And then it also, I think this is the first time that they use this Pokemon like this. I thought it was pretty freaking cool. But there's a Honedge and a Bronzong, and the Bronzong goes over and goes on top of Fuecoco, and Honedge goes over and just hits it. And just like, if you can imagine being underneath the bell and then just having the bell just get rung and just vibrating in your head, freaking knocked out Fuecoco just like that. So when that happens, we go over and we finally see that Tepin shows up, and they're fighting over the Pokeball. And Liko is over here, and she's like, "Why are you doing this? You were friends with Diana, and Diana said that you were such a nice person."
Tepin, please! Why are you doing something so awful? Did you actually ever go adventuring with Grandma? Or was that just a big lie?
Go adventuring? Well, golly, who can say, really?
Please give that Pokeball back! You have no idea how much it means to us!
Look, kid, a customer showed up at my stall willing to pay quite a high price for a special Pokeball like this.
So it was the Explorers!
Now, don't feel bad, but you might as well give up and let me have it.
No, we can't do that! Yeah, if you won't give it back, we'll take it back in battle!
And they're like, "No, you're not." So they all go and start fighting over this Pokeball again. And that's when we get a whole bunch of leafage from Sprigatito, a whole bunch of Ember from Fuecoco, and the Pokeball starts flying all over the place, and the Pokeball starts the Pokeball gets dropped, and when the Pokeball gets dropped onto the ground, that's when they're like, okay, we got it. And Hatena uses Psychic and tries to pick up the Pokeball, but it doesn't work. And that's when you see Lampe comes over and uses Thief over on the bag, and goes over and just steals the bag again and brings it right back over to brings it right back over to Teppan. So it's at this point that everyone is using all of their attacks on each other. So Roy sends out his Wattrel, and now it's a 3-on-4 Pokemon battle. And then Fungus comes out, and Fungus is like, nah, everyone that's in this battle is about to go to sleep. So it starts using sleep powder on all the Pokemon. But what Teppan didn't think of is that all of his Pokemon were going to go to sleep too. And it's at this point that all the Pokemon are on the ground and they're sleeping, and it drops the Pokeball, and Roy runs over and he grabs it. And Teppan goes over and he starts apologizing, and this is when we get Diana to come into the frame, and she's like, what has become of you? You are not the man that I used to venture with. The old you would not be stooping to such lows and stealing from children. And she takes a mirror and she's like, look at yourself. She's like, this is what you used to look like, and this is what you are now. You need to change your ways. So that's when Teppan realizes all of his bad ways is not going to ever get him anywhere. And even if he could sell this Pokeball for a high price, it's not going to change anything, because money will only last for so long. So he looks over at his Pokemon, and his Pokemon don't want to be bad, but since they're his trainer, they obey him. And he starts to cry, and he apologizes, and he says, I should not have gone down this path, and this is not me. But you know what? I apologize, and I know I will be on a better path going forward. And then we immediately jump over to Dawn, and he's handing Liko over a piece of paper and goes, here you go. Here's some information and the location of a Pokeball craftsman, and she might know a little bit more information about the Pokeball that you have to give you some more information. And Liko is like, oh, thank you, Teppan. And he's like, yes, of course. And he's like, I will start on a better path myself going forward. And that was the end of the episode.
And doesn't he also drop in? He's like, I should probably get in contact with the buyer and let them know that I've kind of like I've seen the error of my ways, and I've decided to go straight. And
yeah. Well, yeah, he ends up saying that, and they're like, okay, well, good. Yeah, you don't want to get all up in you don't want to be making deals with scam artists. So just be on the straight and narrow, and things will turn around for you. And,
yeah.
But kind of a life lesson learned, like, don't steal from little kids, or don't steal in general. And that's the real gist of this episode. But yeah, it was very little action, a whole lot of chasing, and that's the end of our first episode that we're going, the first of 3.
Yes.
So.
And like you said, we did have a decent chunk of action towards the end, but it wasn't really structured. It was just kind of fumbling around, and it wasn't like a couple episodes ago where Liko and Roy were like training with a gym master. They were just kind of battling to get Roy's Pokeball back.
Yes, and a whole lot of Ember and a whole lot of leafage. So,
because that's all we got.
Yes, I know. Does it bother you at all that, I mean, I know that things will get better a little bit later on, but does it bother you that we've had so many episodes and we're still stuck on the same like core moves for these Pokemon?
Well, yeah, it is frustrating. I mean, and maybe this is my fault for getting so used to, like Ash Ketchum's structured episodes where, yeah, there's going to be stretches where like nothing happens, but at least you can see like he's out there training in the background. He's getting into random battles as episodes are starting, and he's, he went through a portion there where he was focused on getting his rank up in whatever spin-off that was. With these kids, it's like, we're kids, but now, a couple episodes ago, it's like we've got our big mission statement, but we've still got episodes to fill out. We can't just throw you right into the climax.
I mean, they could.
So
it would be nice.
Well, they could. Well, it would be so short, though.
It would. And I guess we gotta really appreciate it. And they're trying to sell products as well. And,
they are.
They're trying to sell a video game, and God forbid they don't put a specific Pokemon into the anime, and that's someone's favorite Pokemon, and they just need to do their part. So so through the series, we will get every Pokemon animated.
Yeah. And if we don't, I'm calling somebody.
For real. But you ready to get on into this next episode?
Yes, because I did find this one to be pretty interesting.
All right, cool. And this next episode that we're going over is called Orla and the Pokeball Smith, or translated from Japanese, Orio and the Monster Ball Craftsman.
Is it literally spelled Oreo?
Not like the food, but the name is Orio.
Ah, okay. I was like, that's cool.
So yes. So this episode, I mean, I feel I want to give like the gist of it, but I know that's not our show. So we do have to really kind of go through it. So
but it doesn't start until they get where they're going. I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So this episode starts off with Orla being dragged in 50 million spots.
What is going on in here?
I'm sorry. I was just practicing throwing Pokeballs.
If you're gonna throw things, do it outside. The wires in the walls are critical to the ship's functioning. If even one of the...
Pikachu!
Orla, I need you on the bridge. An instrument's malfunctioning.
Pika!
Orla, the refrigerator stopped working.
Orla! The elevator is stuck. And Chansey's trapped inside.
Hey, outlets are forked. I can't charge my tech.
You have to fix it right away! Oh, right already! I'm on it! Everyone just relax!
It's always like this. Orla's really got it tough.
She kind of just like runs away to go and do something, and everyone is blaming each other, and they're like, "Oh, now look at what you've done. You're taking advantage of her." And they're like,
you give her too much work. No, I don't.
Yeah, you give her too much work. You give her too much work. No, you do. No, you do. And the old grandpa, he's like, or not the grandpa. the grandma
Diana,
is she's over here and she's like, you know what? She's like, I think there's enough blame to go around for everybody.
And Pikachu's sitting there like it's like this every damn day.
So, we're coming up onto the island, and this is where Orla looks over and she's like, "Huh, where are we now?" So it is at this point that they come up to this big building that has a Pokeball on it, and Orla's talking to herself, and she's looking over at the building, and she's like, "This is all wrong. This is all wrong, all wrong."
She goes in. She's like, "This isn't proper at all." She's like, "This is inefficient, and this it's not up to code, and it's shoddy." I was like, "Ouch."
For real. And Freed, Liko and Roy are just staring over at her, and they're like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "This building is such a magnificent building, but the wiring and efficiency of this building, it's just all done wrong." And they're like, "Oh, well, would you have done anything differently?" And she's like, "Of course I would have." And she looks up at the building and she's like, maybe I can tell the person that's inside, what she needs to do, and they'll have a great building. And then out comes one of the stars of this episode, Karna. And Doug, I'll have you take it from here.
Yes. So, Karna pops out and she's like, "Oh, can I help you?" And they're like, "Yeah, we were referred to you by Teppan, and she's kind of embarrassed because she's like, "Well, I don't usually, reach out to like shady characters like that, but I was on the hunt for, rare Pokeballs, and because I'm a Pokeball craftsman myself, and we see inside this big factory, this building, and she's got like a giant piece of machinery. And she goes, "Well, it's been kind of slow lately," and we kind of see that it goes through all these motions and it produces one
Pokeball.
One Pokeball. I mean, it's really well put together, but it's one Pokeball. And
I do want to make a note, because I just thought it was pretty cool that Liko, before she starts showing the system around, Liko notices an ancient Hisuian Pokeball on the ground, which is covered from one of the episodes that me and you did a while ago, Doug, with Ash, Brock, as they were going through some of the final episodes of Ash Ketchum.
Okay, I thought that looked familiar, but I didn't do enough digging backwards. But I was like, I've seen something similar to that, and I wasn't sure if it was that or if I saw something in a game.
You did see it in the game as well, because that's the Pokeball that you use in Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Son of a gun.
Yes. So the game from back in the day, where it shows how Pokemon were caught back in the day and they were trained and all of that. One of my favorite Pokemon games, actually. And yeah, this Pokeball just makes another appearance, and it's not a real Pokeball, but she makes what would you call it? Like antique Pokeballs, or
it's like a recreation.
Yes.
In a way, and she also makes like different variations of Pokeballs, which we'll get into in a moment.
Oh, does she?
So yeah, this big honking machine is only able to produce one well-crafted Pokeball, and
At a time.
Immediately Orla's like, well, that's wrong on...
Yeah, she's like, I can help you.
She's like, I'm looking at this and I'm not even like on the inside of the machine, and I'm telling you, we can triple this efficiency. And she's in there and
she's like, well, how do you do that? Utilize your damn Pokemon.
Yes, and we didn't mention that she has a Magby as a partner.
And I know you know about Magby and an alligator.
Oh, yeah, no, because this is like my sweet spot, because I was like heavy in the games when they introduced, like Poke Babies, like pre-evolutions for like Magma and Electabuzz, and I think Clefairy had one. There's a Pichu, obviously, is the big one.
Yep.
And it was a game of like, all right, how do I get all these combinations? It was a lot of sending Ditto and a Pokemon to the daycare, and it's like, oh, we got an egg. It's like, okay, your Pokemon be.
That's not what we thought when we were little, Doug.
Well, it's not what we thought when we were little, but it's like we know what's going on now.
Isn't it kind of up that you can use a Ditto in the game to get any clone of your Pokemon? Like it's funny for us adults, but like the kids don't understand what's really going on here.
Well, yeah, and I'm not trying to have the talk based on a Pokemon game, for goodness sakes.
That's funny.
So, Orla kind of explains to Karna that, if you use your Magby in the manufacturing process, your output's going to like skyrocket, and we see it because Magby's sitting there, he's feeding Flamethrower into the machine, and the Pokeballs are just spitting out. It's pia, pia, pia. And
she's like, oh wow, like she's impressed.
She's like, this is fantastic. I'm going to be filling everybody's orders. I'm going to be, my profits are going to skyrocket. And then, Roy comes across this box of all different types of Pokeballs, not like your everyday run-of-the-mill red and white Pokeballs. There's some with wings on it. There's some.
My favorite was the boomerang.
Yes. Well, actually, my favorite was the one where it's like it'll automatically track if a Pokemon is nearby. It's got like wheels and a sensor.
I know.
That was my favorite. Now, are those in the game? Are those in the games, or are those just okay? I didn't think so. I was like, how would they? I was like, that's. I mean, there's a couple of them they could use. Like you could use a boomerang ball and the one with the wings on it.
Yeah.
If like, oh, that's one that you use if you want to catch a flying type. It's like, well, that's a little on the nose, but it's fun. I mean, for goodness sakes, there's a lure ball, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
But yeah, so Roy's out there, and he is basically throwing Pokeballs against a tree, and he's practicing throwing, which kind of got him in trouble on the ship. And he's got one Pokeball, and he picks it up, and it's got like a fuse on it, like a cartoon bomb, and it just explodes. And he's like, "Oh, that's the explosion ball or the bomb ball or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, it's got a short fuse." I was like, "No kidding," and because she was smart enough to like label and put in little notes with the Pokeball, so it's not like trial and error. But I would still be frustrated if I was Karna, because, like, dude's throwing Pokeballs against a tree. He's not even...
And he's just breaking.
Yeah, and she's probably only got a handful of all the different designs, and he's just out there just throwing them against a tree just for shits.
During this time frame, he ends up throwing a Pokeball, and the Pokeball goes over, and it hits a Galarian Weezing.
Yes. Badass design on the Galarian Weezing, I have to say.
Yeah, it is. And but what wasn't you fascinated at how Galarian Weezings are actually used at the end of the episode once we get there?
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. They tied it back around.
So during this time frame, so Orla is helping Karna out around the warehouse, and Liko notices that they're like kind of like buddy and all this, and she's like she might be staying here because Karna asks, she's like, with your smarts and technology and stuff,
like, we can get this place humming.
Yeah, and so Orla, she actually thinks about it. She's like, huh. But when Liko kind of confronts her about it, Orla kind of goes into the spiel of how Freed found her, and she was kind of down on her luck, and she helped build the Olivine. And it's at this point that while she's talking, that we see Roy being chased by the Galarian Weezing, and Orla takes out her Metagross, and Metagross ends up sending the Galarian Weezing away. But where there's one Galarian Weezing, we found out there are a ton of Galarian Weezing. And this is where Pikachu comes down to try to save the day. And here comes Freed as well, because they see all the Galarian Weezing coming over. And it's one big Pokemon battle with Freed and Pikachu fighting. We go inside the shop, and we find out that one of the machines is kind of hung up, and it's not working because the machines were producing so many Pokeballs that the machine ended up stopping because something.
Yeah, it's pardon me, it's jammed up.
Yeah, it's jammed. So it's at this point that Orla runs inside, and with her Metagross and her smarts, and Magby and Elekid, they all go in and they start like they start giving the machine so much power, and the power ends up overwhelming the machine, and the machine ends up letting out a big, huge of I wouldn't say poisonous gas, but
just smoke in general.
Yes, toxic smoke. There you go.
Toxic smoke. Yeah, there you go.
So it starts taking out all the toxic smoke, and the Galarian Weezing look up, and they're like, "Ooh, toxic!" And then they go up to the top, and they start eating the toxic smoke. And Liko takes out her Rotom phone and finds out that the Galarian Weezing turns toxic smoke, and they're basically used as a filter, and they take the toxic smoke and they make a clean smoke.
Which I was sitting there going, that's pretty clutch. Like,
isn't it? Like, I thought that was pretty cool to kind of tie that back. So they look up and they're like, well, I guess that from a place like this, it's like unlimited resource for all the Galarian Weezing, so you're not producing toxins and putting it all up into the sky. And Freed goes up and he's like, all right, is everyone good? Good. And we get to the ending of the episode, and Orla looks over at Karna and is like, you know what? Thank you for offering, but I can't leave all my pals. So you're going to have to use what I taught you and keep this place going yourself. but you know what? I know you can do it. And
I have faith in you.
Yep. And Karna gives her a Pokeball and is like, here, I want you to take this Pokeball and, as a souvenir. And I want to thank you for everything that you taught me here today about running a business and being able to utilize my Pokemon. And this kind of frustrated me just a little bit because Orla takes the Pokeball, but we end up finding out that she left the Pokeball there. Is that the assumption that you got, Doug?
She left it, yeah, because isn't that like how it ends? Because Liko just kind of happens to come across and is like, oh, that's the Pokeball. So, like, how did you read that? Because I read it as Orla made the decision to leave it behind because she didn't want to have to continuously look at it and go, I could have gotten off this ship and I could have been somewhere where I was contributing as opposed to just consistently patching holes, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, I mean, or she just left it on the shelf as a reminder that she can do good in the world, but she knows that her calling for right now is helping out everyone on the Olivine, and she's perfectly fine and content with that. But you know what? I might go back there one day because I know once I complete everything here that I have a spot in this world.
I mean, I did like that we got kind of her origin story from her perspective. I mean, I know we talked about it for a second, but
yeah, that's the end of the first, or not the first, the second episode that we're doing here today. Anything else that you would like to go over before I give you the name of the third episode, Doug?
Not really. I will say, and I know this is weird to say in the middle of the episode, because I know you and I kind of talked off mic a little bit, because we kind of made a decision about how we were going to cover the next upcoming episodes, which we can get into, maybe not next time, but the time after that, we can get into it at a later date. And when we were just kind of hammering in that these were the three that we were going to cover, we're like, oh, so we're like full on filler. And you're like, yeah, but we'll be able to make it entertaining. And I think, at the risk of spiking the football on the 5-yard line, I think we've done that so far.
Oh, yes, we have. And I'm happy about it. Now it's time for the third episode, which in English is called Slip and Crash, a Mystery Pokemon. Or translated from Japanese, Doug, the Slipping Smashing Mystery Pokemon.
Well, sometimes you just hit it. I mean,
I knew you would get a kick out of that, out of that translation.
Sometimes you just hit it, and sometimes you get it right. Oh, damn. I kind of wish that was the English translation. Or, like
the Slipping Smashing Mystery Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes a piece of cake is a piece of cake,
Yeah.
No need to dress it up.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I thought
that's cool.
I thought that was
That's
cool.
awesome.
So, all right, everyone. So this episode, should we just talk about this episode, Doug?
I think we should. I think that's the best way to go at it, really. Because if we try to go blow by blow, I mean, there's not a lot.
There's not a lot going on in this episode.
There's really not, no.
And let's see. So we start this episode. We actually start this episode with a lot of action. So we have another training session with Liko and Roy, with Liko going Sprigatito, Leafage, and then Roy going Ember or Fuecoco, Ember. And Pikachu is using Double Team, and it's all across the battlefield. on the ship, and they're getting better because they're actually eliminating all the double team and chasing Pikachu, but Fuecoco starts running after Pikachu, and then it just slips, and it slips on some like purple goo that is on the ground, and they're like, "What is this?" And freaking Freed is like, "Well, that's a new type of substance, right?"
And if the guardrails weren't like imposed by the force field, Fuecoco would have fallen straight off that ship.
Yeah, he would have. I mean, aren't you supposed to have your Pokeball ready for instances like that?
Well, I mean, but see, I get in trouble when I get mad about stuff like that, you know?
Why?
It's like, well, they're learning, Doug. Well, I mean, yeah, but how long are they in the learning phase?
You're not wrong.
Before we start getting on them for being irresponsible trainers.
You're not wrong. So this becomes a detective-like episode, and our heroes are searching the ship and looking all around for this purple substance. And our next scene has Liko talking to her grandmother, and her grandmother is talking about if you're going to crack this case, you have to be a really good detective, and there's going to be clues left everywhere for you, but you have to keep it in your mind, and you have to remember it and use it and just go forth. And this is where we get a glimpse of a cracked teacup that is sitting right next to Diana, and Diana is like, "Oh, this teacup is cracked. You want me to get rid of it?" And Diana's like, "You know what? No, I'm gonna try to use it for something a little bit later on. But you know what? Go and find out what that purple goo is, Doug."
Yes, because she hears like a clinking sound in the distance.
What's that noise we just heard?
If you're curious, perhaps you should go and inspect.
Huh?
Investigating like an actual detective must give you a real thrilling charge, yes? Go on. Just think of it like you're uncovering the mysteries of Pokémon.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Grandma. I'm gonna go check it out.
Good luck, and be careful.
Let's go, Sprigatito.
They're walking around the ship, and it's at this point that they come across a Palmy, and they hear Palmy crash into, and I can say it because people that know the Pokemon are gonna know what the Pokemon is, but a Poltergeist. So a Poltergeist has made its way onto the ship, and it crashes into the Poltergeist, and Liko is like, oh my God, what was that? So they go searching for what that loud crash was, but they don't see what the crash was. So they're looking all around the ship, and they can't find what made that noise. But it's at this point that all the Pokemon are seeing what the loud noise is, but every time Liko gets near it, it's gone. But later on, as we fast forward, we find out that the Poltergeist is stuck on the Galarian muck that is on top of the ship. And
that is a muck. It wasn't identified, but I'm like, if that's not a muck, I fucking quit.
Yeah, it's a Galarian muck.
Okay. Like, if that wasn't a muck. I mean, I knew it had to be a Galarian form, but it wasn't, like, called out. But I was like, that makes sense, because I think they even ran that storyline with somebody getting stuck to a muck back in Kanto, but I can't put my finger on it right now.
So the Galarian muck is sleepwalking and walking around, and the Poltergeist can't get loose. And I thought, okay, this next scene, and I was watching this with my wife. We thought this was so morbid. And please tell me that you thought it was morbid too when you saw it.
It's kind of fucked up.
A little bit. So Dot is inside of her room, okay? And Dot opens up her fridge, and there's a Shuckle, like, orange juice type drink that it looks like she already drank 99% of. There's just a little drop inside. She's like, oh, crap. She's like, I really wanted some Shuckle juice. And then out of nowhere, the Shuckle comes into her room. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, perfect timing, Shuckle. So she goes over, picks up Shuckle, gets a straw, and sticks the straw into the back of the Shuckle. And the Shuckle's like, oh my God, what is going on? What is going on? What are you doing?
Shuckle's like, yo, I'll pour some in a glass. Let's be civil.
What? Don't drink out of my body. And when we say this, she's literally drinking out of Shuckle's body. And Quaxley is having a conniption. It's like, whoa.
Even Quaxley's like, yo, woo, whoa. Whoa.
Stop this now.
We've got cups,
And Dot is like, okay, fine. I won't drink out of the Shuckle. And they put Shuckle on top of the counter and put out 2 glasses, and Shuckle leans its body over to pour out its Shuckle juice. or as my daughter said, why are they drinking its pee?
It was about that color, that you would think that a Shuckle might produce.
Like, geez, like, I just thought that's morbid. And maybe they talked about this on like a Sun and Moon episode, but that was really morbid, bro, for me to see, not knowing that's what they were going to do with that Shuckle.
I mean, and they didn't even play it off as well, Shuckle doesn't mind, or
no, Shuckle did. Shuckle 100% minded.
Shuckle was like, yo, there's cups right there. I'll give you some. Like, that's like the equivalent of getting under a cow and being like, let me just get one of these from the Sutter real quick.
Yeah. So we leave this scene, and Muck was sleepwalking right outside of Dot's room, and turns around and starts walking away, and Dot just walks next to it and starts going back over by her room. And Poltergeist is trying to get off of Muck. He's like, get off. This is so gross. Ew. And Pikachu, Captain Pikachu, sees Poltergeist, grabs it, and frees it.
Yes, and immediately, Cap's kind of like, what have you been doing? And Poltergeist is like, I've been stuck on that Muck forever. I've been trying to free myself, but I've got no arms, because it's in the teapot,
Yeah.
And then he sees Shuckle, trying to, get out of the kitchen, and Poltergeist is like, yo, that guy, I want that guy. And Cap's like, word. And Shuckle, like, starts doing the put him up, let's, fucking 1, 2, let's go. And Cap's like, word. And, kind of looks over at Shuckle and goes, hey, you, come here. And Shuckle's like, who, me? And Cap's like, yeah, this Poltergeist wants you. And Shuckle's like, let's fucking go. And so we get, thrown back into Lico's cabin. And we're like, oh, right, Lico's still on the ship. Because, like, we hadn't seen them. Like, the only humans we'd seen for about, 5 minutes was Dot.
Yeah.
And Lico and Sprigatito are getting ready to call it a night. And they're like, we'll investigate that sound further tomorrow, maybe when it's light out. and they turn the lights out, and about the time that they close their eyes, the sound starts up again, and it's a little bit louder this time. And Lico's like, all right, I know I'm not crazy.
I know I hear this stuff.
Yeah, because even Sprigatito picked its head up and is like, yo, something needs to calm down. And so they get out of the room again, and they're looking, and they see more goo, and they're like, well, son of a bitch. And they didn't say so. Imagine if they just dropped a son of a bitch, just
randomly in an episode.
Just didn't build it up or anything, just dropped it, and it's like, yo, did I hear? And then we see that Roy and Fuecoco never went to bed.
No, they did. They stayed up, and it's Friday night. They stayed up, and they just wanted to find out what was going on here.
And then so they get down to pardon me. They see a ramp, and they see Quaxley just kind of hanging out, but he's looking like there's some shit going on. And they're like, yo, Quaxley, what's going on? And Quaxley's like, oh, nothing. I'm just out for a stroll. And then this is when they hear the sound, and it's more intense than it's been. And they look down, and this is what I termed to you when we were discussing the episodes briefly earlier. This is what I called Pokemon Fight Club.
Yes. Because the Pokemon are literally downstairs battling each other in the midst of night with this poltergeist. It's Poltergeist and Shuckle, and they're like in a circle, and they look, and Lico's like, oh my god, what's Terrapagos doing down here? And then it's at that point, you as the viewer are like, yeah, we haven't seen Terrapagos in a minute. Not that it wasn't the star of your show like 3 episodes ago.
Right. So, and we see Poltergeist is kind of standing there, and he's kind of giving the bring it to Shuckle, and Shuckle squares up and
starts
and
rolling.
launches it,
starts using
and
roll out.
rolls. And roll out, thank you. And he hits Poltergeist and causes another chip in the teapot.
That it's
and then we get our first shot of the purple goo actually falling out, and they're like, oh, that's what that is. It's like, no shit.
And Poltergeist is like, you know what? I'm not here to fight. I have a solution. Everybody, watch this. And it goes up, and it makes like a little disco. It starts singing, and like you see like some disco lights going on. It's using its psychic power to go get a whole lot of cups. And it's like, I'm going to give all of you some very good purple drink. And Captain Pikachu is just standing here, and it's like, all right, good. And it's handing out all the purple drink to everyone. I really felt like there's like some underlining meaning to this, that the writers were like, how do you put like an adult theme in a kid cartoon without making it so obvious? And these Pokemon, it's nighttime, they're drinking. I just thought it was funny. And they're drinking this drink, and they're like, oh, this is so good. Man, this is so good. Even Noctowl was like, you know what? This drink will go good with a pear. And freaking Poltergeist is like, yeah, I did all that. And Shuckle is looking up at Poltergeist, and it jumps up and is like, yeah, I like it too. So all of these Pokemon are having a ball, and Liko and Roy are looking over at all the Pokemon, and they're like, it looks like that's what's going on over there. All the Pokemon are having fun, and we should probably leave him alone. But who goes in and bum rushes the party? It's Fukoko, it's Brigatito. And Fukoko goes
and Roy. Let's not let Roy off the hook.
Yeah, Roy as well. But it was mainly Fukoko. Fukoko slipped on the goo that was on the floor again and just went and rolled in. And then it's now morning time because we switched from everyone laughing at Fukoko to morning time and it's breakfast and all the Pokemon are sitting here eating their food, but half of them are sleeping because they were up all night. And Liko and Roy are like, oh, okay, so we're just going to let them sleep. And Freed comes walking over and is like, what's going on over here? Well, we found out where all that goo is coming from. It was coming from this poltergeist. And then I'm going to leave this ending part over to you, bro, if you want to put all of this down with the introduction of Sinistea in the episode.
Yes. So, we're kind of enjoying our breakfast, and then all of a sudden Freed starts making a whole bunch of commotion, and we see him, he's kind of and just like that, if you look up the episode, it's exactly like that. I just did a pitch perfect impression, no notes. And Freed's like, what in the world is that? And then we find out that teacup that Liko was a couple seconds away from throwing away earlier that evening is a Pokemon called a Sinistea. And Diana's like, aha! My experiment worked. And she was basically like, I was letting that teacup, I was letting it be, and was it revealed that Poltergeist possessed it and basically created the Sinistea?
Yeah. So it poured its juice into the cup, and the cup took on a mind of its own to become the Sinistea.
And then we have a nice sweet moment because the Sinistea goes next to the Poltergeist and falls asleep, and it's this nice sweet moment. We also saw that earlier in the evening, as the Fight Club was kind of winding down, we saw that everybody was given Cap some daps because, like, how did you read that? Because, like, everybody was like giving Cap fist bumps, and was it kind of like a bro out moment where they're like, we get together and we have this battle, but we can also chill over some drinks?
Yeah, I mean that's how I took it.
Yeah, like, I mean, I liked it because like Shuckle was going over and he was giving some knuckles, and I think Poltergeist and Cap had a moment, but yeah, I'll say, I'll go out on a limb and say that was one of the weirder episodes, but like I didn't hate it at any point, really. I mean, okay, let's not. I mean, that's Shuckle in the kitchen.
It is.
If I wasn't ready for that, whoa. I mean, I'm glad that they're like, oh look, Shuckle likes it. Like, no, I mean, Shuckle was like, yo, I'm not.
It.
He was like, yo. I'll give you some juice. This
is not cool. Not cool.
I'll give you some juice. You don't got to be cannibals about it. Who was I? Oh no, that's it. That's in. I was like, who did I have that conversation with? And it was about a TikTok that you sent me.
So, All right, but yeah, those are the 3 episodes that we are going over here today. And let's go ahead and start with the first one. I'm going to give the first one a solid 3 because no, it didn't progress the story, but the story itself, I mean, we got to learn a lot about this old geezer of a man. But it was entertaining when they were running around. And then I got a real big kick out of Freed destroying all these people's hard work of putting their shop up and ruining all their stuff and actually being held accountable for it.
Yeah, like how many times did like Ash and the crew go through and be a bull in a china shop, and it's just like, oh, sorry, we can't stop because it's our show and we're busy. But they're like, no, Freed, you know, this your big ass lip blowing through like nothing happened, and you're gonna stop because we've been out here since 6 a.m. putting our stalls out.
So, what about
yeah, I'll agree with you. And I'll probably be a little bit lenient. I mean, I was kind of leaning towards like a 2.5, but then, there was some connective tissue that connected this episode with the next one, so I kind of gave that props because even though, these episodes I think they're meant to be like you can kind of come in and out on episodes and you're not going to be too lost. I do appreciate when they give you credit for watching the episode beforehand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll agree with your 3.
So if I'm going to give this one a 3, the next episode with Orla and the Pokeball Smith, I'm going to give a solid 4 because
ooh,
yes, and the reason I'm going to give it a 4 is because we didn't have an evolution, but we did learn a whole lot about Orla, and it's one of the episodes where it is a throwaway episode, but without this episode, we don't get many episodes where it's not focused on Liko and Roy, and this one was focused on another character from the ship. It was a fleshed out character. She had some conflictions as to whether she wanted to stay or not. And we got to see all of her skills, like, to the max in this episode. Like, they really showed how useful Orla is to this family and this ship. And I was like, so not only did they give Orla an episode, they really showcased her. And I don't think we're going to get too many more of these episodes. So even though she might not be in an episode, we know what type of work she's doing.
I completely agree with you, and I support your reasoning. However, I think I have to give it a 3.5. I just like, because I think at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, did we need this episode? And I think my answer is no. I mean, I liked it. I appreciated it. You know, like you said, I like that they flesh out other team members than, you know, Freed and Liko and Roy, but because I mean, the episode starts with Orla getting pulled in a million directions, and it ends with her getting pulled in a million directions, except this time she's got a smile on her face.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then the last episode, Slip and Crash, a mystery Pokemon. I'm gonna sadly give this one a 2. This was literally, I mean, cut and paste all the previous episodes of a Pokemon getting aboard the ship and them trying to find this Pokemon. I don't know how many more episodes of these that we're actually going to get, but it's literally cut and paste, and they kind of have to be cut and paste because they're not adventuring out and walking a lot. The ship is flying a lot. So when Pokemon go aboard the ship, it's okay. Now it's time to be Detective Pikachu and find out what's going on here. And I feel like we have this episode. We just had this with Terrapagos just a few episodes ago.
Yeah, we just had it. Once again, I agree with you and I support your reasoning. However, by virtue of the amount that I actually laughed covering this episode, I'm going to bump it up to a 2.5.
Okay.
Because this is a classic EP case of the episode wasn't much to, write home about watching it, but just, you and I chopping it up. And I mean, we could probably do an entire podcast just based on that kitchen scene.
Yeah, we could.
And, we laughed about it, and, we laughed about the Fight Club, and, Diana being like, oh, don't throw that teacup away. I'm working on something. Like, what would have happened if Lego would have,
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think by giving it the review treatment, I'm willing to give it a 2.5.
Okay. So cool. Then I think we're pretty much good. Did you have anything else to add, Doug?
Yes, before we got off here, I wanted to ask, because we don't really do, like, let our hair down, talk about news episodes a lot, because, Pokemon doesn't really present much of an opportunity to do that these days, unless they're doing a Pokemon Direct.
Yes.
Have you been playing, or have you any interest in playing trading card game?
The new one, the TCG Pocket?
Yeah.
Yes. So I have been playing it. And I've actually been playing it before it came out to the US. I was using my VPN because it was out in a different country. So I downloaded it using my VPN. So I'm a little further than your average player out here in the US. But yeah, I'm pretty far. So far, out of the 226 Pokemon cards, I have 190 of them. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm not far, but a lot of the packs that I'm opening these days are duplicates, and it's really hard getting these last 30 some odd cards that I need. I need 36 more cards to complete my card openings, and I'm being very strategic. Like just today I did 2 10-pack openings, which I know I would have to explain that to you off air, kind of how that works. But you're able to open 2 packs a day. I went ahead and got the premium package where you get to open an extra package every single day. So now I can open 3. And when you battle other trainers with your decks, like you get points and stuff, and you can use those points to convert them over to being able to open up like more packs. Like they have one where like if you convert enough points, instead of opening just 1 pack, you can open up 10 packs. And they have 5 cards a piece in each pack. And I did that twice today because I've saved up a lot of my stuff, and I'm almost there. But I'm still very frustrated that there's still so many gaps on my card list. And pretty soon they'll be opening up trading, but the trading function is not available yet.
Yeah, no, people were talking about that. And they're like, do you have to get to a certain level, or?
And it's real easy to get to that level. So I'm not. Yeah, it's not a hard game. And even if you did do the battling with the cards, I'll say this. So in TCG Live, if you're battling with Pokemon cards, your battle can go 30, 40 minutes. But when you're battling in this game, they've dumbed it down to where you only have to knock out 3 Pokemon, 2 if you knock out someone's EX card. And the battles for the card games they give you 20 minutes. I can honestly sit here and tell you that none of my card games have gone longer than 4 minutes.
All right,
yeah,
flex.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's just how dumbed down they've made it. They've made it like this is a game that I can hand my son who understands Pokemon trading card game, but I think with his attention span, these are the type of card games that he would play. This is the type of card game that my daughter would play, and she can understand. Like, they've dumbed it down so much to where it's real easy for someone really young to get into the game. So when they get older and they have a bigger itch for like longer battles and to like the legit card game, it really helps you understand the card game to where you can go out into the ranks and download TCG Live and be able to play. So it's your beginner guide into the Pokemon trading card game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's my plug. Yeah, I haven't talked too much about it here on the air, but yeah, that I have been playing it. I get the ping when I'm at work, so I open it up and I get my cards, and then I get another ping right before I'm going to bed, and I open up my cards, and I'm like, fuck! Half the time because I'm not getting the newer cards that I need.
Right.
Because they tell you the pull rates for some of these. And boy, some of the pull rates on these are hard as...
Oh, you ain't got to tell me about that. I've been playing Madden Ultimate Team competitively for like 5 years. I know about pull rates, goddammit.
Yeah, it sucks. So you know my feelings because I'm gearing up. I got 20 minutes left until I can open up these 2 packs, and I can almost guarantee I'm not getting a new card.
Well, not with that attitude, you know.
Not tonight. Well, yesterday, because I pulled Mewtwo yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, well, then you're screwed for like a month.
I know. So I pulled the best Mewtwo card that I can get in the game yesterday. I can't get Mew yet because in order to get Mew, you have to get all 150 Pokemon in the Pokédex entry, and if you collect all 150, there's a secret mission thing where you tap it and it gives you Mew for free.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
So people found that out recently. That's been all over YouTube, and I was like, yeah, but I need 30 more cards. But I don't need 30 more of the core cards. I think how many cards? I'm curious right now. Like you got the juices flowing on this game right now for me. How many do I need to complete my regular national deck? 12. I need 12 more cards to complete my national deck.
Okay.
So I'm not far off, but it's hard finding these cards. And
yeah.
Boy, am I trying. But yeah, the day you download it, me and you can become friends on here, and we can help each other out and give each other points and shit. So download the game, damn it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it.
Do it. It's a nice little, and you don't have to spend money on it, but they do get you with if you sign up for premium, you get 2 weeks for free. So you download it, you're like, oh, what's 2 weeks? And then
and then you forget about it.
Well, I didn't forget about it. Like I fully intended on keeping it, but I can see a lot of people like, crap, it charged me $9.99 for the month.
Yeah.
So,
see, and I don't.
But yeah, good game. Think about it. Keep it in your head. But yeah, I'm gonna. Anything else that you want to talk about, Doug?
No. That's one of the perks of doing this show. A little something that came up on one of my other podcasts, and I was like, I wondered if you were into it. And here we are. So.
Yep.
If you had thoughts about how we covered these episodes, you got a discussion about the Pokemon mobile game. So meh.
Yeah, exactly. So not even just that. And I'm going to do a little homework. So next week we are recording our Pokemon game show with 2 guests that we are having come on to the show to compete with Doug. Doug's going to be one of the competitors too in a questionnaire game that we are making, which we're going to have become a little bit more regular. We are going to put it out on the free feed for you, but the second game going forward is going to be exclusively on Patreon. So be on the lookout for that. We are going to be recording another episode to finish off part 3 of the Netflix Pokemon Horizons. That's also going to be coming out pretty soon, but I think that's going to come out in 2 weeks this time.
Yes.
But I believe we are going to record that next week as long as everything stays according to plan. So we might have 2 recordings next week, Doug, if you're cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So, if you are listening to us on the free feed, please continue to listen to us on there and subscribe on Spotify, because they are the ones that helps keeps the lights on over here. And they are the ones helping nominate us for Amateur Podcast of the Year. And if you have a little extra coin to throw our way, go ahead and subscribe on Patreon. At our $5 tier level, you get a 7-day free trial, and you get all of our episodes, weekly episodes, ad-free. And if you subscribe to us at our $10 level, not only do you get the Pokemon audio drama, but you get all of our movies. And we have a new movie coming up this upcoming Christmas season here in the U.S., because we know we have a lot of international listeners. So go ahead and subscribe on there if you want to listen to our review of the 5th Pokemon movie. And woohoo! So that's going to be exclusively on our Patreon as well, along with the game shows going forward. There's a lot of content that we are throwing onto our Patreon that I know a lot of you fans are going to enjoy. So just subscribe to us at the $10 or higher tier. You get all of that stuff every single month going forward. Anything else that you want to add to that, Doug, before we sign off here today?
Thank you for your support, however you choose to do it.
Yes. So, all right, Doug, go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G saying we'll see you next week for our game show, everybody. Have a good night.